I'll show you some React code and you tell me what's wrong. Deal? Alright, this is very simple. I have this app component with this counter state variable that gets incremented when the button is clicked. The classic React example, you know it for sure. Then I have another component, I called it simple component, which has this state variable that is set only once with a random number when the component is mounted. This state variable is rendered here in this div just like that. And then simple component is used in the app component like this. In the browser it looks like this. We have the button with the counter and below it the content of simple component. I click on the button and the counter increases, as expected, but the random number also changes every time I click the button. But why is that? We just saw that the random number is only set when the component is mounted, so what's the problem? Well, I didn't show you the whole truth, to be honest, because simple component is actually a nested component inside the app component. And you might think that this is not a problem or that it might make sense in some scenarios, but in most cases it can be deadly for functional components. The problem here is that simple component is unmounted and remounted on every render cycle of the app component. And it is easy to explain why this happens. The function declaration for the inner component is recreated on every render cycle, which means React thinks it is a completely different component each time. So it has to unmount the old one and mount the new one every time the app component is updated. And this can be even more problematic if that inner component is more complex than in this example. Besides the side effect we just saw, using nested components in React is not a good idea for other reasons. You can only use the inner component inside the parent component, so it is literally not reusable, which is actually against the whole idea of React. It also adds unnecessary complexity to your application. It makes your application harder to understand and harder to debug. So how do you solve it? Quite simple, just don't use nested components when working with functional components in React, period. So in the example I just move simple component outside of the app component and everything works fine again. You can still keep it in the same file if you want, no matter. Did you know about this issue in React? Have you ever thought about using nested components or have you actually done it? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to know how to implement a context menu in React, watch this video next. Thanks for watching, bye!